one of the most enigmatic figures found in the three Abrahamic faiths of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is the Queen of Sheba. Apart from her presence in these three religions, the Queen plays an important role in the history and identity of the Ethiopian people. But is the story of the Queen of Sheba true or simply a legend? What is the story, and did she really exist? Up next on Desire to Share. Most people regard the Queen of Sheba to be a legendary figure. However, in Ethiopia, the Queen is believed to have existed and is revered as the mother of the nation. According to ancient Ethiopian manuscripts, the Queen of Sheba is believed to be the founder of the Solomonic dynasty, which ruled over the country until its last ruler, Haile Selassie I, was deposed in 1974. Both the Hebrew Bible and the Quran have stories of the Queen of Sheba. In both these religious texts, we never get to know the name of the Queen. However, the different traditions have given her different names. For example, Arab sources refer to the Queen of Sheba as Balkis or Bilkis. On the other hand, a Christian source known as the Declaris Mulieribus, which means concerning famous women, refers to the legendary queen as Nikaula. This ancient text was written in the 14th century by Florentine author Giovanni Boccaccio. And finally, the Ethiopians refer to the Queen of Sheba as Makeda. This name is found in the Kebra Nagast, which is a collection of stories written in the 14th century and considered to be Ethiopia's national epic. The Kebra Nagast means the glory of kings. In the Hebrew Bible, the story about the Queen of Sheba is found in the first book of Kings, chapter 10, from verses 1 to 13, and in the second book of Chronicles, chapter 9, verses 1 to 12. In both books, we find more or less the same thing about the Queen of Sheba visiting Jerusalem. We learn that the Queen visited Solomon as she had heard of his fame concerning the name of the Lord. The Queen had a set of hard questions that she wanted to ask Solomon. For her visit to Jerusalem, the Queen traveled in a long caravan with camels that carried bare spices and a lot of gold and precious stones. We then learn that the Queen of Sheba asked Solomon the questions that she had set, and the king was able to answer all of them. The Queen was overwhelmed by Solomon's wisdom as well as the wealth of his kingdom. Of course, the presence of the Queen of Sheba in the Hebrew Bible is meant to show off Solomon's wisdom, the wealth of his kingdom, and to glorify God. At the same time, we also get a glimpse of the wealth possessed by the Queen of Sheba. 1 Kings chapter 10 verse 10. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as this which the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. And the navy also of Hiram, that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. Likewise, Solomon treated the Queen of Sheba with great generosity during her stay in Jerusalem. We learn that the king gave the queen all she desired and whatever she asked for, besides which he gave her of his royal bounty. After that, the Queen of Sheba returns to her own country and does not reappear in the Hebrew Bible. When we come to the New Testament, the Queen of Sheba makes a cameo appearance in Matthew chapter 12 verse 42. In this verse, Jesus is rebuking the scribes and Pharisees who are asking him for a sign by saying, "The Queen of the South shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and, behold, a greater than Solomon is here." In this verse, the Queen of the South refers to the Queen of Sheba. Moreover, this Old Testament story is recast in new light by Christians. For example, the visit by the Queen of Sheba to Solomon is seen as a metaphor for the submission of the Gentiles to Christ. In addition, the Queen is said to foreshadow the Virgin Mary through her chastity, and the gifts of gold, spices, and stone are said to mirror the gold, frankincense, and myrrh presented by the Magi to the infant Jesus. The Quran also has an account of the Queen of Sheba, which is quite similar to the one found in the Hebrew Bible. In Surat An-Nam, the story of the queen begins with a bird known as a hoopoe. The bird brings news to Solomon about the land of Sheba. The bird reports that this land is governed by a woman who has been given all things and has a great throne. Moreover, the bird reports that the queen and her subjects are worshipping the sun instead of worshipping Allah, and Satan has made their deeds pleasing to them and averted them from Allah, so they are not guided. When Solomon got this report, he commanded the bird to deliver a letter to the Queen of Sheba, in which he invites her and her kingdom to submit to Allah. The queen got the letter and consulted with her advisors on what she should reply to Solomon. The men responded by saying, "We are men of strength and of great military might, but the command is yours, so see what you will command." The queen is very much aware of her kingdom's military might. However, she opted for a more diplomatic approach. She knows that when kings enter a city, they ruin it and render the honored of its people humbled. She did not want this to be done to her people. So, instead, she sent gifts back to Solomon and waited to see what will happen. In Jerusalem, Solomon got the gifts sent by the Queen of Sheba, but he rejected them. He said, "Do you provide me with wealth? But what Allah has given me is better than what He has given you. Rather, it is you who rejoice in your gift." Apart from this, Solomon threatened to take military action if the queen did not start worshipping Allah. He told the messengers, "Return to them, for we will surely come to them with soldiers that they will be powerless to encounter, and we will surely expel them therefrom in humiliation, and they will be debased." When the Queen of Sheba got this message, she decided to travel to Jerusalem. But before her arrival, Solomon called one of his jinns and had him bring the Queen of Sheba's throne back to his palace and had it disguised. This was done to see if the queen will be able to recognize her own throne. When the Queen of Sheba reached Jerusalem, she was invited to the palatial hall and, mistaking the glass floor for water, lifted her skirt in order to avoid wetting her clothes. And finally, the queen admitted her mistake and started worshipping Allah. The stories of the Queen of Sheba in both the Hebrew Bible and the Quran have some gaps in them, and commentators and religious scholars in later times have attempted to fill them up. As a result, the stories were embellished and became more colorful than they already were. In one example, we are told that Solomon's jinns were afraid that the king would be tempted to marry the beautiful Queen of Sheba. One of them whispered to Solomon that the queen had hairy legs and the hooves of an ass. Solomon got very curious and ordered a glass floor to be built before his throne. So when the queen finally arrived at the palace, she lifted up her skirt to cross the water, which she didn't know was simply a glass floor. When she lifted up her skirt, Solomon saw that she did not have hairy legs. Solomon then ordered his jinns to create a depilatory for the queen. The story ends without us knowing whether Solomon married the Queen of Sheba. In the Hebrew Bible, the Queen of Sheba is said to have tested Solomon with riddles. But these riddles are not found in the text itself, but can be found in Midrash, a compilation of writings that involve the critical explanation or interpretation of the Hebrew Bible by ancient Jewish authorities. In one of the Midrashic accounts, the first riddle that the Queen of Sheba posed was as follows. How can a woman say to her son, "Your father is my father, your grandfather my husband, you are my son, and I am your sister"? Juggle up your mind. Can you think of the answer to this riddle? We'll get back to the answer in the second part of the video. At this point, we'd like to thank everybody that has subscribed to this channel since we started. We also wanted to announce that we now have some merchandise that some of you might find nice to have. Simply check the link in the description for merch items such as t-shirts, puzzles, bangles, candles, and much more on our store. Okay, let's continue. Did you get the answer to this riddle? Your father is my father, your grandfather my husband, you are my son, and I am your sister. Solomon's answer to this riddle was the two daughters of Lot, who got their father drunk, had sex with him, got pregnant as a result, and bore sons. Next, the queen brought a group of children before the king. All these children were of the same height and wore the same attire. The queen told Solomon to distinguish between the boys and girls. To solve this riddle, Solomon commanded his servants to scatter nuts and roasted ears of corn before the children. The boys, who were not bashful, collected them and tied them within the hems of their garments. On the other hand, the girls, who were bashful, tied the nuts within their outer garments, since their bodies would be revealed if they had done so as the boys. Finally, the queen brought a group of men before Solomon and asked him to distinguish between the circumcised and the uncircumcised. To solve this riddle, Solomon had the Ark of the Covenant brought out and opened. When the Ark was opened, the circumcised boys stood or bowed their bodies to half their height. On the other hand, the uncircumcised boys fell prostrate on the ground. However, the most significant embellishment to the story is found in the Kebra Nagast. In this ancient text, the Queen of Sheba is called Makeda, and is said to have stayed in Jerusalem for 6 months, where she learned from Solomon. On the last night of her stay, she was tricked by the king into having sex with him. According to the tale, Solomon had invited the queen to a banquet during which spicy food was served. The spicy food was meant to make the queen thirsty. After the banquet, the king invited the queen to stay in his palace for the night. The queen agreed, but had one condition, that Solomon will not take her by force. And Solomon agreed to that, but he also had his condition, that the queen will not take anything from him by force. Makeda was slightly offended, but she agreed to stay in the palace. In the middle of the night, the queen woke up, and since she was very thirsty, she reached for a jar of water close to her bed. Solomon appeared and warned the queen that if she drank the water, she would be breaking her oath of taking something from him by force. But Makeda's thirst was very strong, and she drank the water, thus freeing Solomon from his oath. The two ended up spending the night together. Makeda became pregnant, and when she returned to her kingdom, gave birth to a son, Menelik, who became the first emperor of Ethiopia. The greatest mystery surrounding the story of the Queen of Sheba is the location of Sheba itself. In the Kebra Nagast, the Queen of Sheba is said to be from Ethiopia. The identification of Ethiopia as Sheba is supported by the 1st century AD Jewish historian Josephus, who identified the Queen of Sheba as the Queen of Egypt and Ethiopia. One view held by modern scholars today is that the Queen of Sheba came from Aksum, an ancient kingdom in Ethiopia. There is also an alternative suggestion that the Hebrew word Sheba is derived from the Arabic Saba, an ancient kingdom that was located in the southwestern corner of the Arabian Peninsula in what is today Yemen. While the archaeological evidence showed that there was indeed a civilization thriving in that region, the artifacts were dated to the 7th century BC, about 300 years after Solomon's reign. However, in the 1980s, new discoveries showed that the Sabaean civilization was already in existence during the 10th century. This being the case, it is not impossible that a queen from there could have visited Solomon in Jerusalem. In any case, conclusive answers are yet to be found, and the question about the location of Sheba is still at present left open. So what do you guys think? Was Sheba in Yemen or in Ethiopia? Let us know what you think about this video in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so that you get notified when you post new content.